Hello students, welcome in the next session of this research methodology. In the last session we were talking about the sampling techniques. In this session we will talk about the data analysis and presentation and digital statistical analysis of data. If we see the sequence of conduction of research, in that we started with the problem identification, then setting of objective and hypothesis, and then we were discussing about the literature review, and then we were talking about the research design or research methodology, and after that we were talking about the sampling techniques. So, this is a kind of sequence in conduction of the research. If you want to conduct the research, first you have to identify the problem, and after problem identification you need to set the objective and hypothesis for your research, and once your hypothesis and objectives have been set, these will help you to go for literature review, and this literature review is for finalizing the research methodology and understanding the updated concept of your research. And once you have gone through the literature review, then you can finalize the research methodology for your research, and in this research methodology you will decide the research design, you will decide the sampling technique, you will decide about method of data collection, and you will decide about the method of data analysis and interpretation. So, in this session, in the continuity, we will discuss about method of data collection and data interpretation or analysis. Now, let us talk about method of data collection. And for that, first we need to understand the data and why we need data. Actually, there is a process. Data, if organized in a meaningful manner, will become information. If data is giving a meaningful information, and that meaningful information can be utilized for any purpose, that will become knowledge. So, the ultimate aim of conduction of research is to create a new and usable knowledge which is better than already existing knowledge. So, this is basic specific purpose of conduction of the research. Now, let us go back to the knowledge. As I told you that data, when given meaning by organizing it, by presenting it, it will become a meaningful information, and a meaningful information, if it can be used for a specific purpose, that will become knowledge. So, in simple words, data can be converted into information, and information can be converted into the knowledge, and knowledge can be utilized for making the life environment easy, comfortable, and easily accessible. So, otherwise also data will give birth to the information, and information will result into the knowledge, and knowledge will bring the wisdom. Knowledge will bring the wisdom. Basically, data is the simple concept, fact, figure, number, any record, that is data, and that these facts, these figures, these numbers can be converted into the information by statistically organizing, interpreting, or manipulating them. It can be converted into information, and then if information is usable, it will become the knowledge. So, this is process of conversion of data into the knowledge, or in other words, the method of data collection will help us to collect the data. Now, How data can be collected? There are various methods for data collection depending upon the type of research. Type of research, if it is quantitative research, if it is qualitative research, there are different methods, but major significant methods are the observational method, questionnaire method and interview method, as well as survey method. These are 4 major significant methods of data collection. Among them, very first is observational method. In the observational method, the researcher will observe a phenomena, a happening, a circumstance, a situation, or a process or an activity, and by observing it keenly with the support of technology or with the support of its team member, data will be collected. And simply we can understand this. Suppose a researcher want to conduct a study on the behavior of lion in the jungle. So, the researcher will continuously, persistently study the behavior of lions in jungle by observing various of its behaviors, and by this way the data will be collected. Suppose a researcher want to conduct the study how many times the lions go for killing the food for them, how many times they go for it. That behavior will be observed among number of lions, and then data will be recorded. Suppose the researcher want to study the species propagation behavior of lions, then in that case the researcher will observe for how many time lion and lionesses and in which season they are going for meeting. So again by this way data will be collected. Not only that, if we take example of any chemical research, any physical research, there might be number of the activities, processes, phenomena which might be happening physically, chemically, biologically. By observing them, data can be collected. So observational method is one of the method for data collection. Second method is method of questionnaire. In this method, questionnaire will be designed. There can be 2 type of questionnaires: structured questionnaire and unstructured questionnaire. In the structured questionnaire, the questions or statements to bring the data from the subjects will be prepared. Structured means there will be already decided set of statements, items or questions in the questionnaire, and that set of pre-decided items, questions will be given individually or in the group to collect the data related to a specific process, phenomena, activity, circumstance, happening or condition of the subjects, and by this way data will be collected. Unstructured questionnaire is where the questions are not pre-planned. In case of lie detection test, if the researcher or the lie detector person want to bring the truth, then in that case the question cannot be structured or finalized in the beginning itself. It will depend upon the course of movement with respect to the question. So, in that case initially 1 or 2 question or some of the question will be structured, and then it would be the course of interaction with the person involved for the lie detection, and that would be decided. Third type of questionnaire may be semi-structured. Semi-structured means some part of the questionnaire is already decided, and then next will depend upon what kind of responses has been given by the respondent, and then next part will be decided on that. So, it is semi structured kind of questionnaire. Both the observational method and questionnaire method will depend upon the type, size and nature of the research. Generally, the observational method is used when the sample size is very small, it is not very large, whereas in the case of the questionnaire method, the size of the sample may be larger. In case of observational method, there might be individual observance or group observance. In the case of individual observance, the researcher will individually observe the subject, whereas in the group, the group will be observed. Now, there might be different method of observation. Observation, direct observation by the researcher himself or herself, or observation by the representative of the researcher, or there might be intervention of technology. Nowadays, the CCTV coverage or the TV camera or recording cameras or other kind of recording devices can be used for recording of the data or can collection of the data, and these are some of the methods of observation. Now, coming to the questionnaire, again as I told you that structured, semi structured and unstructured, yes, there can be the battery, schedule and inventory kind of questionnaires. Battery is whenever we want to conduct a study by involving more than one characteristics, but these characteristics are harmonious or sub element of a major trait. Suppose we want to conduct a study on leadership. So, leadership involves number of characteristics or number of sub traits. So, these sub traits needs to be tested. For them, there is need to develop the battery of questions. So, number of sub traits are there, and related to that the questions or items or the statements will be included. In the inventory, when we want to go for a specific characteristic only. Schedule, in the case of schedule, schedule is also a kind of questionnaire where the researcher will develop a structured questionnaire or semi structured questionnaire, and responses to these questions will be recorded by the researcher himself or herself. Generally, the schedule kind of questionnaire is used when it is not only the response of the subject, rather what kind of emotional and other expressions and gestures are given by the researcher, that needs to be included. In that case, we will go for the schedule kind of researcher. The third type of data collection is interview method. By conducting the interview with the subjects or by asking the question either by the researcher himself or herself or by its representative or by using the technological means directly from the subject, that method is the interview method. Basically, interview is seeking the information by asking the question. There might be different kind of interviews. Example, political interview. In the political interview, the interviewer is asking question to a political leader to seek certain information related to the political activities. Whereas another type of interview is the selection interview. In that case, the interviewers or the interviewer is asking question to seek information related to a specific job performance or a subject area, so that it can be evaluated whether candidate would be able to perform the job or not. So, in this case also information, knowledge is sought from the interviewee by the interviewer. So, this is second type. Third type is the interview for the researcher. If we want to seek information or data for conduction of a specific research, that kind of interview is the research interview. So, in this session we are talking about the research interview. Again, interview may be classified as the structured interview, semi-structured interview and unstructured interview. And the reason for these three classification is, again, if we want to seek information related to already decided points only, then in that case we will go for the structured. In case when we need certain already specified information, as well as there might be chances that new information may come up, then in that case the semi-structured part will decide what question should be asked, so that the requisite information can be sought. In the unstructured, the interview will be started in an uncasual manner, and then it will depend upon what kind of information is coming. Depending upon that, the next course of conduction of interview will be decided. So, these are three major type of methods of data collection, specifically for the quantitative kind of research. Yes, of course, in the qualitative type of research may also be used. And now, by using these methods, we can collect two type of data, the qualitative data and the quantitative data. The qualitative data is description, it is descriptive in the nature and it is subjective in the nature. Suppose we want to conduct a study on the leadership, then characteristics of the leadership, or if you want to bring information related to leadership, then it can be a qualitative data. Next is the quantitative data. Quantitative data will always come into the numerical form. Even in the case of leadership, leadership is a quality, but that quality can be quantified. And how it can be quantified? As I told you, that we will observe either, or we will seek information, or we will seek data by using the questionnaire. If we will ask the question, then reply to these questions may be in the form of the responses, and these responses may be on a scale or dichotomous or any other pattern. From that, data will be collected, and these responses can be quantified. How we can understand that? Let us take example. We want to conduct the research on leadership, and we have prepared the statement, and against the statement we have given a 5-point scale: strongly agree, agree, cannot say, disagree, strongly disagree. In this case, the strongly agree can be given 5 points, agree can be given 4 points, cannot say can be given 3 points, disagree can be given 2 points, and strongly disagree can be given 1 point. Here this is process of converting the quality into the quantity. Now, this quantitative data can be used for further analysis and for finding. So, there can be two type of qualitative and quantitative data. Once this data has been collected by using any method, the next step in conduction of research is data analysis. Now, what is data analysis? Data analysis is process of number 1, collecting the data, then cleaning the data, transforming the data, then modeling the data, representing or presenting the data, lastly analyzing or interpreting the data. So, data analysis is process of collecting, cleaning, presenting, modeling, interpreting and analyzing the data. This is process of data analysis. Now, what are different steps involved in data analysis? The steps involved are: number 1, deciding the method of data collection, and once the method of data collection has been decided, next step is developing that method, developing its standard operating process for conduction of the data. Suppose we want to go for observation, then what would be the method of observation, whether researcher himself or herself will observe, or the representative will observe, or some technology will be, and then where, how this method will be used, and what would be process of collection of data, what would be table, and how this data will be recorded, how this data will be collected. It is the case in questionnaire method also. So, whether you have conducted the questionnaire by individually or in the group, now you have responded questions recorded in the form of the responses collected by the researchers, and now these responses will be converted into the data, as I told you, if it is given on the scale, dictomus or any kind or any kind. So, by this way data will be collected. Once that data will be collected, this data will be cleaned. While collecting the data, some of the data will get deformed, or it would not be fake, or it would not be appropriate to use it. So, that kind of data will be eliminated, corrected, cleaned, and after that this data will be stored. After storage of this data, the next step is the processing of data, and in the processing of data is very first presentation of data, whether this data should be shown in the form of graphs, in the form of diagrams, in the form of bar diagrams, in the form of tables, or in the form of pie diagram. This is presentation of the data. The presentation of data itself will start giving meaning. As I told you in the beginning, the basic purpose of data collection is to give meaning to it or to convert it into the information, and once this information is useful, by default it will be the knowledge. So, the data presentation, and after data presentation we will go for certain statistical tools and techniques which will help us to give meaning and interpretation of data. There are two types of statistics: descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. Whenever we want to explain, describe any concept, any phenomena, any situation, any happening, any activity, we use the descriptive statistics in the form of central tendency or others. But number of times the researcher want to extract certain inferences or want to take certain inferences from the data. In that case, the inferential statistics, that is, if we want to compare the data, then in that case we will go for the t-test, z-test, ANOVA, MANOVA, MANOVA, ANOVA. All these techniques of statistics will be used to interpret or to give meaning to the data. As well as if we want to establish a relationship or we want to find out the relationship between two factors or two variables which are taken into the research, then in that case we will go for the correlation and regression. In the case of regression, if we want to find out the cause and effect relationship between two variables, then it is possible with the help of regression only. If simply we want to find out the relationship between two factors or two variables taken into research, then we can go for correlation. So, by this way the collected data presented in the form of various presentations, it can be analyzed with the help of statistics, and then this analyzed data will be interpreted and discussed to give meaning to the data. So, this is process and of data analysis. And now again we must understand different type of data analysis. Among them, the first one is text analysis, second one is statistical analysis, third one is diagnostic analysis, fourth one is predictive analysis, fifth one is the prescriptive analysis. Now let us understand all these one by one. The first one is text analysis. Generally, among some of the field area like literature, history, political science, we need to analyze the text. In literature, if we want to go for semantic study, what meaning a specific sentence or a volume of literature or some of the paragraphs, if different readers will read them or if different researcher will read them, they will give different interpretation or they will give different meaning to these text. So, if we want to analyze the text, then in that case it is text analysis, and generally it is used among literature, humanities, arts, and yes, of course, management also. In political science specifically, if a politician is giving a statement, the people from his party, the people from opposition parties, the people from general public, the people from media, all they will interpret the text, interpret the statement, interpret the speech given by the political leader. So, this is one of the type of data analysis, and here the data is the text. If we go through Gita, if we go through Quran or Bible, as many as number of people are reading that text, they are taking their own meaning out of these scriptures. So, this is text analysis. Now, coming to the second type, that is statistical analysis. What is statistical analysis? Statistical analysis, I told you that if you have collected the numerical data, then how this numerical data can be converted into the meaningful information, and lastly how this meaningful information can be converted into certain inferences or useful knowledge. It can be done with the help of descriptive analysis and inferential analysis, and for that we need the descriptive statistics and inferential statistics, which I have already explained. Now, coming to the diagnostic analysis. Diagnostic analysis is related to why did something has happened. If you want to find out the reason for that, it is a kind of diagnostic, and most of the time diagnostic analysis is related to the medical sciences, related to the social sciences, where what are basic reason for happening of any social phenomena, may be evil or may be good in nature. Suppose why there is reason for dowry, why the women are being killed after committing rape with them, what tendency is working. If we want to go for that reason, that kind of analysis will be the diagnostic analysis. And in the diagnostic analysis, both the textual as well as statistical analysis can be included. So, this is third form of the data analysis, and next one is the predictive analysis. Predictive analysis is if we want to predict something for the future, and the best example is prediction of meteorological department. By taking lot many factors, how the air is blowing, what is surface temperature of sea, what is surface temperature of ground or earth, and many more factors are taken into consideration, and then after analyzing all the data collected, the prediction of next few days or next weather can be given. Even before 1 or 2 or 3 months, the meteorological department can predict whether this year monsoon will be a good monsoon, or it would be a dry, or it would be a famine, or it would be a drought. It can all be done, and it can be done with the help of analysis of data for predicting. And this prediction is not only in the meteorological department. If we want to predict any psychological aspect, any social phenomena, if we want to predict about the political system in a country, you might have seen number of organizations involved in the exit poll or even pre-poll surveys, and on the basis of that, nowadays nearly the exact predictions are given in the political environment. So, this kind of data analysis is the predictive. Next one is prescriptive analysis. Prescriptive analysis is to prescribe, to advise something. So, data is analyzed, and the best example is the medical sciences. In the medical sciences, patient is coming and giving various symptoms of the problem, medical problem or disease to the doctor, and then doctor will recommend for certain tests to examine the patient physically, biologically, mentally, medically and biochemically. And after conduction of these tests will give data to the doctor, and after analyzing the whole gamut of data received in the form of physical symptoms, received in the form of the biological symptoms, received in the form of biochemical data as a result of conduction of various tests, and state of body, what is state of bones, what is state of muscles. By taking all that into consideration, then the disease is predicted, and on the prediction of the disease, the prescription of treatment. And it is not only for the medical sciences, we can take that example among social sciences also. In psychology, similarly, on the basis of the symptoms, certain tests are conducted, and on the basis of the data collected from these tests, the patient will be prescribed certain kind of psychological therapies and treatments. And not only in that, in the sociology also, and not only in that, in the general sciences and technology also, we are collecting the data, then understanding the problem, and on the basis of that, then we are predicting. So, it is prescriptive analysis. Now, how these analyses can be conducted? Among them, there is one that is content analysis. Content means in the text what kind of content is there, on the basis of analysis is performed. In the text itself, in the qualitative data, in the text analysis, the narrative is analyzed. What statement was given by the Prime Minister? That narrative. What is written in the Quran, so that what should be the behavior of people. Then next is discourse analysis. When a large volume of text is available, then how it can be understood. So, these are some of the methods of analysis in the qualitative. Now, coming to the quantitative, again it is descriptive statistics, And in the descriptive statistics, it is measure of frequency and a measure of central tendency, then your measure of other factors for describing certain phenomena, certain concepts, certain activities or happenings. In that, even the range, various standard deviation, all these are helpful in interpretation of the data. If we want to go for the inference generation, then in that case, already I told you that the correlation, cross tabulation and regression methods are the methods for the inference generation. Nowadays, we have certain kind of softwares. Nowadays, it is not necessary you go mathematically or manually for conduction of the data. You can use different softwares like SPSS, MATLAB and your R software. There are different. Even the Microsoft Excel is very much helpful for analysis of data. Generally, the simple kind of data can be analyzed with the Excel, Microsoft Excel only. So, other softwares are SAS, that is statistical analysis software, GraphPad, Prism is another. So, these are the some of the technique by using the digital technology we can analyze the data. So, here we close the session. Thank you for the patient listening, and we will meet in the next session related to the next topic of research methodology. Thank you very much.